Hello! Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Owen, and I have the world's first degree in street magic. My parents are so proud, because obviously all my friends all went off to do important things with their lives. They became doctors and lawyers and bankers and good things like that, and instead I learned how to do this. So who is the real loser? That's what I ask you tonight. Maybe we shouldn't answer that question. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my degree started as a degree in drama at Trinity College in Dublin. But when I arrived, I was lucky enough to find that my lecturers were all wonderfully eccentric and had no problems whatsoever in me studying magic and street theatre and doing my essays on whatever I wanted. The other huge advantage that I had was that Trinity College in Dublin is right next to a giant pedestrianised street called Grafton Street, which is the biggest busking street in Ireland. So between my lectures, I was able to go out, gather up a crowd of people like all of you wonderful, beautiful human beings and this man, and perform for my living, which is how I helped pay my way through my degree. This all culminated in my final year when I had to do a dissertation, which was to be 12,000 words on a subject of my choice, or I could do 7,000 words if it tied in to a practical project that I would have to do. And for most students, that meant actually putting on a grand scale play or directing something or doing a huge lighting design program. For me, I went to my tutor and said, could I do 7,000 words on street performance and do a street show for my practical project? And he just stared at me like a nun who'd just read 50 Shades of Grey and said, Owen, are you actually trying to get 5,000 words off your essay by doing something you do every day for a living? And I said, yeah. And he said, that's great. So I found myself on a cold May afternoon with a huge crowd around me. Well, it's actually a mediocre crowd, but there was a crowd around me on Grafton Street with all my lecturers in front of me, judging me for quite a significant part of my degree on my ability to pull a playing card out of a deck using my tongue, which looked a bit like this. Let me see. Yes, hello, hi, how you doing? I know, very scary. Audience participation in a TED Talk, that never happens on YouTube, does it? Just grab one of these for me, if you will. Just take any card you like at all. Brilliant. I'm going to ask you to have a look at that. You're going to show it probably to this camera here and show it to all these wonderful, beautiful human beings. Don't show it to me, that's very important. And when you're done with that, I'd like you to take this pen and across the face of the card, that's this bit here, if you could just scrawl your signature, write your name, something across it so we can all see very boldly, because later on everyone's going to think that I'm cheating with another card, so this will make it unique. So just do that as quick as you can. It doesn't have to be a Turner Prize award-winning piece of art. Perfect, here we are. Thank you. And you can just give me back the card. That's great, excellent. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to attempt to find this card using my tongue. Not my hands, but my tongue. The reason I'm obviously going to do that is because it is much, much harder for me to do, and it is obviously also much, much sexier. No. Okay, so, your card, my tongue. What's your name, by the way? Sorry. I haven't seen it, so. Gabby, brilliant, Gabby. Gabby, I will find your card using my tongue. Here we go. Your card, my tongue. Here we go. Okay. Gabby, your card is not that one there, is it? Good. And your card is not that one there, is it? Good. a real hard is not that one there, is it? And it's not that one there, is it? And it's not that one there. This trick takes 4 hours, okay? Real hard is not any of these ones. I think real hard is that one there, yes? No? No. And that's how I got a degree in street theatre. Do you remember what you wrote on the card, Gabby? I think it looked a bit like that. Is that right? Is that your card? Yes, thank you. That's your souvenir if you want. No, you don't want that. Okay, cool. Well, now, you're probably wondering at this point, what on earth is there to study about street theatre? And I found out there's quite a lot. There's probably a few of you out there who actually don't like street theatre, don't like busking. And if you don't like busking, my advice to you is take your music player and just throw it away. Because most of the bands you listen to on a regular basis started out life on the street. And there's a very good reason for this. Firstly, there's no other place where you can get that level of experience that quickly. You get to perform for real people every day for a long period of time. You can't do that working a club circuit. The other reason is that you get very difficult experience very, very quickly. Because on the street, you're having to deal with the most difficult venue in the world. This is not an audience that have paid to see you already. This is an audience who didn't want to see you when they first saw you, and now you've got to convince them to pay you. On top of that, you've got to deal with the police and Hare Krishnas dancing through your show. And one time, getting right to the climax of my magic performance and having to stop because behind me was a homeless person having a poo. And sadly, there is nothing in the world that I can do that is more interesting for my audience than the sight of human feces. So as you can imagine, you have to get very good very quick if you're going to compete in the street environment. But there is another reason that keeps street performers coming back to the streets and not trying to move on to other things. And there are people like myself who have chosen to do this with our lives and do it all over the world. And that is the unique experience that it can give to our audience. And as I discovered during my degree, this comes back to the concept of play. Now, playing is something we all do as children, but it's something that we stop doing as we get older. And pretty much every intelligent mammal out there will continue to play in the same way as it gets older. But society tells us that when we have reached a certain level of adulthood, playing is no longer acceptable. We drink alcohol, we have sex, we dance, usually the latter two requiring the first one. And these are okay adult practices, but they are not as freeing and liberating as that wild, crazy play that that little child inside us is dying to do, where we just run around pretending we're unicorns or whatever it is that you used to do when you were playing. Probably revealed a bit too much there. But a street show, well, any good performance for that degree can bring out an element of play in its audience. But a street show does it better than anything else by its very nature and by the things that one does. However, there's also another really important thing in it, which is that not only does a street show encourage you to play, but it does so where people are at their most repressed, right in the middle of the city, right in the middle of that restrictive urban environment of 9-to-5 lives and straight lines and business suits. And a good street performer can tear you right out of that, turn you into a child again, and then send you back into the world feeling completely different. To give an example of the difference, if I was to pick up this newspaper here, and if I was to begin to tear it like this, your minds would instantly go into enjoyment mode. You've all come here expecting to see performance. A TED Talk is a kind of performance, after all. And when you saw my name and heard the man introduce me, you knew that there was going to be magic. So as soon as I start tearing up this newspaper, your brain instantly clicks into enjoy magic trick mode. So if I was to tear up the newspaper like this, and then if I was to, before your eyes, restore the newspaper, that would obviously be pretty incredible. However, if this was happening on the street, where there isn't any lights, where there isn't any stage except that which I've created myself, and where not one of you has come here expecting to see a performance, if I was to take the newspaper then and restore it, then that would be incredible. Because you wouldn't have been in that mode. And a street show, when done well, has the potential to literally tear down all those defenses that you'd built up as you're walking home from your 9-to-5 job or out to buy your sandwich at lunch break or whenever it was you encountered the performer. And this effect can be really significant on people. It releases what a theatre theorist called Antonin Artaud calls total man. And I and every other good street performer I know can tell you stories about how people come up to us after our shows telling us what a difference the show had made, what a state they'd been in beforehand and how different they feel afterwards. For me, there's one show that will never leave my mind. Well, two actually. The other one I talked about earlier with the homeless person and The other one happened in 2010 when I was in Vancouver, and it was raining and I really didn't feel like doing a show, but a street performer, a friend of mine, convinced me to do one. And I did it, and it came together, and it was a marvelous show. But afterwards, a man who was clearly very down in his luck came up to me, and he told me that the show had completely changed his life. Because he'd been having a terrible time, and that day, right up until the moment he'd seen the show, he had been planning on killing himself. But he wasn't going to do that anymore. And it's this incredible effect that will always keep buskers coming back. Because not only can we send out this great energy and this feeling to people in our audiences, but they will then eventually, hopefully, share that with other people. And it creates a ripple effect that carries on throughout the city. To put it simply, although buskers need cities, cities also need buskers. Because, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, I can't actually do magic. All I've ever been able to do with my whole life is make people laugh and have fun. Guys, if you've laughed, if you're feeling some of that energy now, today, I ask you to take that away with you and spread that around to the people you meet. That is not magic either, but it has to help the world somehow. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Owen Lean, you haven't. Thank you very much. Good night.